They say sharks can smell blood in the water, but this time it was Astralis who were the executioners. But they made it close, 19-15 in overtime. I think it's safe to say that nobody was expecting that result.
No. Do you regret not picking Sharks to win the
We
map?
were sitting in the green room and it went to, what was it, 15-14?
Yeah.
And I was like, I should have picked them. I should have picked them. But no, alas, we were all correct with our predictions.
They were within 6 HP of just 16-14 in that game. That 1v1 at the end as well. So it was great. It was a great map of CS. It was great from both sides. But obviously, because it's Sharks, it's even more impressive. You know, they do this. Lucan has 20, maybe 30 kills by the end of the game.
Yeah.
Does so well. They win the second pistol. They have a clean CT side after a good T side.
Yeah, I mean, I'm just impressed how they played in the end. Like, in the beginning, it just felt like Astralis gonna go away with it. But they won like one 2v5, one 2v4 as team in the beginning. And they just started to have like get a lot of rounds in the beginning and made it like really close. And then like in the end there, it was like felt like you know they're gonna, or like you were feeling it, they're gonna win it. But then somehow Astralis just won that important clutch, then won 4-0 in overtime. So, like, I'm impressed in the end at least, and Lucan specifically.
Oh my god, yeah. Lucan was so good. Dupree had a rough game in the beginning. That was a really important 2K right there. But yeah, here as we wrap up the highlights, really great performance from Sharks so far.
Yeah, it was incredibly impressive. And of course, all of these wonderful highlights brought to you by NVIDIA. So close to closing it out.
Look at this. Look at the ADR. That actually tells a story. You've got Lucan, who has almost 100 ADR. And then we have Exit, who's in the okay range for ADR, like acceptable, you know, above 70. Everyone else basically has a failing grade in terms of ADR, and they brought it to OT.
Yeah.
That's insane.
It's impressive when you look at it, but when you going over to Astralis, you see Magus was playing really, really well during the whole game, and it stands out. You can see like his ADR, but the thing that sticks out the most for me, I felt like Xyp9x was like the second best player on their team, and it was only number 3rd on that ADR like ranking of Astralis. So it's really impressive to see how a team that's that good of Astralis, to knowing like they need one player to just like helping the rest of the guys over the line, and then you just have Xyp9x just like close it down.
Yeah, there's so many things that happen. I mean, there's just so many rounds in the first place, and I stress it again, Lucan. That's 29th round from Lucan, where he's they go down lower. I think we're actually going to talk about the round right after that, but he goes down lower by himself. They get no info because they stop spotting outside. He sits down there, waits for info, sees there's one in control, does some damage, and then you think, you know, this is where you freak out. You're by yourself. You spotted 3 CTs or Ts. You see the bomb. You got to ask for help and hit your shots. Yeah. Someone opens control door or decon door. He kills that guy, goes back to control, kills both players in control, and then they end up, you know, getting it to 15-14. I think it's so amazing to see that calm.
It was pretty phenomenal. I mean, you just mentioned it there. There's a demo that you have picked. Could you kind of preface what that is exactly?
Yeah. So with this round, it's going to be Astralis kind of figuring out their T side after a little bit of a struggle. Sharks won the last 2 rounds with the pistol, so here they go ramp after the last round where they went ramp and went lower. This time they reroute back to upper. This is classic Glaive. You know, he likes to abuse things that work and then splits from there, so they're really hard to read. Here they get into heaven. There's 2 players who have already rotated down from the CT because they saw last round that was where they went. And then the 2 players upstairs, Leo and Exit, both combined for I think 3 kills in total. Lucan helps out as well. And then it comes down to this absolutely ridiculous 1v1. Of course it's Xyp9x in a 1v2 actually to jump in and get the clutch. That was a really fantastic round by him.
That's not the guy you want to be facing, is it? When you're in that 2vx. It's pretty insane situation. But I know we were talking a little bit about when Astralis were coming on to the second half, we expected it to be a little bit more of a stronger performance from them because they'd have a little bit more control. Were you surprised at the lack of that?
In a way, but in the same time, when you look at last finals of ECS and they were playing against Furia, and you can see like Astralis when they were playing that game, they were like losing a lot of like control, which they never use. Like in general, when you watch Astralis, they always seems like to have a big control of the map and the game itself, even though if the numbers are saying against them. And it was noticed here a little bit like more than it did before when they're like getting closer and actually it almost looked like they're going to lose the game eventually. So you see they're doing a little bit more mistakes there and there. But in the end, you know, they were the better team in the end, at least in my books when I look at it, mostly because, you know, they have the experience. They have everything that's telling them they are the better team. And that's shown off in the overtime when they won it 4-0.
For me, it's like I feel like I'm almost splitting hairs when I talk about who's the better team in that game because there's so many good rounds from Sharks. Like, even on that second half where they had Astralis were going for their regular outside cross smokes and, like, getting 2 players across, like, there were positions they were playing. True. They were just not scared to peek for information. They got the kills on the cross. They were calling them out before the round was over. And then towards the end of the game, when they did get a bit scared and they lacked a bit of information, they would still win the round when, you know, Astralis would get 5 lower without any information. So it was like individual performances when it mattered. Plus, they had really good setups at the beginning of the rounds, too.
Well, we're going to take a look at 2 individual performances as we do our head-to-head recap. It, of course, was Magisk and Mayan. Obviously, Magisk topping the scoreboard. There were 32 kills. It was pretty impressive. A pretty impressive performance from him.
This is a little rude because Magisk, I think, was number 1, and then Mayan was the lowest.
Yeah.
But they're comparing him because Mayern's the kid that everyone's talking about.
Yeah. 100%. So, but I was like very surprised, especially when we were highlighting a player like Mayern, that we didn't really see that much of him in that game specifically, because it was Luke and taking over from them, both coming from Argentina, especially the highlight players of that team. But I will probably expect more in the best of 3 when it comes up in that point, because, you know, it's the first game of the tournament, it's best of 1, and then also playing against #1 team in the world, it's always going to be a little bit shaky if you ask me. And, you know, he probably have a lot of eyes on him, you know, like everyone's talking about it, everyone's hyping him up. And of course, as a player, when you get a lot of hype, and especially playing against teams that you're not familiar with and used to play against, tier 1 teams, you know, you're always going to get, you know, the nerves are going to get to you a little bit. So in a way, I'm a little bit surprised he didn't perform that, what everyone's been talking about. But at the same time, not scared. I mean, I'm waiting a little to see the best of 3 games because I know he's going to start delivering there.
Yes, exactly. Well, something we can take a look at now is our HyperX X Factor of the match. I'm very excited to see what this one is because, as you said, Launders, there were a lot of incredibly impressive plays.
It's going to be Lucan.
It must be.
It's going to be
Come
Lucan.
on.
It has to be.
Give me the good stuff.
The 3-piece. Super. Oh, is it?
Yeah, it's Lucan. This is the 2v5. It's
this is the 2v5 in the first half.
And Lucan is getting 4K here. It's like, it's just mind-blowing just watching the round itself, you know.
Yeah, and even if it gets the head pop right here. Oh, just perfect patience. That's a round you just don't see Astralis lose. And this speaks to why I think that it's like the ADR was so lopsided in the first place, but also just not very high for most of the players in Sharks, because some of these rounds are just so crazy. Like, it's just like, it wasn't like 5 players died in a round. It was evenly split up, and then you move on to the next one. Some of these rounds Astralis had to save early because they were able to take so much control so quickly on T side.
Yeah.
Tactically speaking, they were awesome.
Yeah, exactly. Well, I think that's what's so interesting about Sharks now. They've come out, they've almost beat the #1 team in the world. As you said, Christopher, we're going into the best of 3s now. What do you kind of see for Sharks going into those?
I mean, we have to see who they're going to face up after the next game when, you know, Fnatic Mibr is playing. So it's going to be more interesting to see that game and see actually who's going to play against Sharks, because I have a feeling like either of those two who's going to lose and playing against Sharks, I think they're going to be more prepared and more mentally prepared for that game. So I think it's going to be more tougher for Sharks no matter who they're playing.
Okay.
So I'm not sure if like we're going to see an upset or they're going to take a map there, because those 2 teams that I just mentioned are really good and, you know, tier 1 teams. Astralis, of course, is the better of those teams according to ranking in the last couple of months in the year. But, you know, it's best of 1 first game of the tournament. They were almost there. They always got the win there in the end. But still, in my books at least, I'll see and say still that I think that Astralis was the better team, mostly because of the team, how they were performing together and all that things, because Sharks was just having the individual better players at some point.
Yeah, and then they won. They had a clean OT as well.
Yeah.
So, but what was I gonna say? They just warmed up against like Mike Tyson basically. Yeah. So, but in a video game where you don't actually get hurt, so maybe that'll benefit them. They get at least shake some nerves off.
Yeah.
You know, and they go into their next match. But they're not going to be slept on anymore.
No,
right?
no.
Everyone's going to be really, really worried about them. So that's good.
Well, we'll be getting into our final Group B matchups very shortly, but something we're going to be jumping into now. We're going to give you a little sneak preview. Something myself, James, and Dan did. We went and built our dream custom PCs, courtesy of Intel. Take a little look at this. I'm going to be moving to London to a very small apartment, so I need a PC that's going to fit in a small space but still allow me to play my favourite games and edit photos and videos. I mainly use my PC for playing games. I've been playing Counter-Strike for near on 5 years now. I absolutely love playing it, but I'm also really into photography, so my PC needs to be able to fulfil both parts of my life. Enter for your chance to win one of 3 custom PCs built by me, James or Dan. This was one of the most insane things I've ever built. That was a full-size graphics card in the back of a monitor.
Yeah.
Like, honestly, unbelievable. The full videos will be up, obviously, on Intel Gaming's YouTube channel, and you can enter for a chance to win one yourself. Head on over to intel.gg/ECS giveaway. You don't want to miss out on that. But we'll be back on this desk to pre-game our final matchup of Group B very shortly. Make sure you stay with us for that. Delve deeper into the action with the ECS Premium Pass. Never miss iconic moments with access to all 10 player POVs through the Twitch Command Center, alongside the official ECS Observer. Keep up to date with the most detailed in-game statistics. Customize everything from your crosshair to the minimap, and join forces with other viewers to show support for your favorite players through our unique clapping feature. All Faceit TV Twitch subscribers will gain access to the ultimate viewing experience. Subscribe now for just $4.99 a month and watch ECS your way.
Cool, right? Want to know where I got it? Well, look, go to cs.money. It's a trade platform and a marketplace at the same time. Just choose, click, and get. Good luck, bro.
Welcome back to the ECS Season 8 Finals. We're about to head in to our final Group B best of one of the day. Of course, I'm not alone up here on the desk. Joining me, the wonderful Get Right and Launders. Gentlemen, for our final best of one of the day, how are you feeling about it?
Probably the closest of the day.
Yes.
Yeah, like I'm very excited for this game because, you know, these two teams seems pretty even in general, even though Fnatic has been performing a little bit better in general this year after they made the change with Flusha coming back and then Golden as well. So I'm very excited to see this matchup, mostly because this can be deciding the fate who actually has a decent chance against Astralis. And I believe, in my opinion, it's 50-50 this game who's going to win it.
50-50, yeah. Yeah, the maps are like a little tight as we looked at. We'll probably talk about that in a bit. But it seems like, so for one thing for MIBR, it feels like something's developing like a little bit, right? They're starting to take maps. They 2-0'd EG. They beat, I think it was, they had a 2-1 victory over NIP recently. They had picked up some scalps, North, Imperial here. And so that's better than the MIBR that we've been used to for a while. That's like they're getting more consistently better. KNG switched off the op, given that to Fallen. That's an interesting maybe respect decision. Maybe it's like he feels like he's going to excel more in that category, and KNG is more versatile, so he feels comfortable A-King. Whatever it is, maybe it's working. Maybe that's cool. And here's maybe the tournament where we see that develop into something way more consistent.
Yeah.
And Fnatic can be a great first opponent to find out.
And also, I'm very curious about Fnatic since they've just played EPL. That's the last thing they did. And sadly, Creams wasn't playing it. So they had to use a stand-in for that. They made a group. They've qualified. So that was a good sign for them, at least, since they were forced to use a stand-in in the last minute, what I understood. And so I'm very eager to see Creams back in the team. It wasn't too long ago, so it's not like he's lost like a month or something. But it's going to be interesting to see how they're going to be performing. And it's going to be very exciting game in general just because of that. And also, like you mentioned, like Fallen is back on main AVP again, and KNG is just like more the hybrid one. And it's been working for them, and you see like something's happening there. They're becoming better and better for each tournament they're playing with that. And so I'm very just eager to see what ends in this game, and I'm very excited for it. I'm a little bit upset though. It's just not the best of 3 yet, because I want to see a best of 3 in this game.
Right after
we will see that. But in the same time, it's going to be a good game no matter what. I think this one, of all if you look at the best of 1 games in both of the groups, I think this is the one that I at least expect is going to be the most closest one.
Yeah, I would definitely agree. I mean, obviously, speaking about Fnatic, they won DreamHack Malmo very recently. They beat NIP, they beat Astralis in the semifinals, which, looking at their reactions, looked like they won the entire tournament. They were so stoked to be taking them down, and then obviously they took down Vitality in the grand final. So that's what's cementing them as 3rd in the world, according to the HOTV rankings.
Yeah, no, they're in very, very good form, and it's just crazy that they brought back, Flesh of Golden. It was like everyone wanted to laugh at that. It was very a lot of people were kind of hesitant about the thought that they're doing something that didn't work before. Why would they try the exact same thing again? But who's laughing now, right? Fnatic, here they are picking up victories.
Exactly, and I mean, I don't really agree with that saying what you were saying, laughing at that, because everyone knows how good Flusha is. Flusha is a playmaker. Flusha has been so talented and so good for such a long time.
Let me be clear. I wasn't the one laughing. But there were people.
You never know. Maybe you're sitting and laughing there backstage.
My favorite player?
Yeah.
My favorite player, Flusha? I don't think so.
Okay.
But there were definitely people.
I mean, there's always someone who's laughing about anything, But I know that a lot of people were questioning Golden since he didn't make any super changes to the Cloud9 team. But you have to also take it in. Oh, there.
Who's laughing now? Oh my God!
I
yes,
love them.
Those jerseys are real. They exist. We saw them in real life just now. And imagine you lose to somebody wearing this jersey, and you have to shake their hand after the match.
Yeah, you'll be very happy about that.
It makes it so much. It makes a victory even better.
I just feel like I want to hug them.
I know. They look awesome, and they have little Hello Kitties on the back as well. Actually, big ones. I want one of. This is the first esports jersey that I actually want. Really badly.
They are absolutely
I'm shelling
beautiful.
for this.
Well, and also a player that we haven't really talked about is Brolin. Obviously, he's a young star. He's been looking pretty forceful recently.
Yeah, I mean, Brolin has been really good for a long time as well. But he doesn't really stick out in that sense because of the all other names in the team. I know that he's like always playing well, at least when I look into seeing their games. And I'm also a little bit happy and more a little bit pride about it because he's playing and he's actually our top player from Sweden. That he's grown up in the same neighborhood where I come from.
Oh, is that right?
Yeah. Oh, really?
Well, if it's in terms of vicinity, like how close?
I mean, it's in the small town that I come from.
Oh, wow.
So,
okay.
And apparently it was like basically like 10, 15 minutes away from where I grew up in. So
cool.
And that's pretty cool because I didn't even know that till someone mentioned it randomly like a year ago.
Yeah.
So I'm like, for me, I'm a little bit happier, you know, regarding that because, I mean, we have always had a great kind of like super players from Sweden through the years in 1.6 CSGO and Source and all that kind of things. But I haven't heard anyone coming from where I grew up in. So, you know, I know some people come from Stockholm, but, you know, Stockholm is such a big place. But knowing when it comes from my place, you know, around my neighbor when I grew up.
Why don't you shout him out? What's the city?
Spånga.
Spånga.
Spånga. Very nice. Learning so much Swedish this segment. But obviously they are going to be taking on Mibr, a team that we've been saying we're not really sure where they're standing at the moment. This is going to be a proving ground for them, I feel.
Yeah. I definitely. I mean, obviously a bit more. If you were, you know, being a good analyst, you would be a bit more hesitant about like expecting huge results from Mibr this tournament. But in terms of the trends from what we've seen recently, their little stint in China, they have taken some big teams down. And that's a good thing. And we know they don't lack talent. That's not a big problem. They have KNG, an absolute superstar. They have Fallen, who is, from what I've heard from players, one of the hardest operators in the world to face against, just period. One of the most annoying, one of the most difficult, one of the most unpredictable. Plus, he seems to be fired up in terms of calling. And then Fur, the man who has been going off recently. He's carrying, what, a 1.11, I think, rating, even through all of these losses in the past few months.
And what's most impressive with Fur were that a lot of people would start dieting, like, what is that word? Not really like being sure on him anymore because he was
doubting?
I'm gonna skip that word, sorry. Like he wasn't performing to what we're used to, you know, the aggressive style and, you know, pushing everywhere and like punishing teams there and there. But now we're starting to see it again. Like we're seeing what Fer made his name from. And I'm really happy to see that again. And one thing I have to point out, I mean, everyone knows that I love the guys and I'm always going to be a little bit biased to them. But one thing that I'm very happy about that, especially from the last tournament they played like a couple of days ago in China, where the Tacos also stepped up his game as well. So I'm very happy to see that. So I'm very excited to see them play here, mostly because I've seen in, like we already talked about, the trend they're going up. And you know, especially when you're seeing a player that Taco's been getting a lot of like criticism on social media for a long time, and seeing him at least, you know, the glimpse of hope, and he's smiling a little bit more after what he played in China. So I'm really eager to see how he's gonna perform here. And I mean the team itself, and I mean this is a team that's always interesting and fun to watch. So I'm expecting a very close game, still 50-50, but in the end, like, I'm really eager to see them play.
Are you leaning one way or the other? Depends on the map? Or?
I mean, I'm a Swede. I have to, you know, my heart is Swedish.
Okay.
So 55-45, I guess.
Okay.
Because, like, the Brazilians are my brothers, in a way. I hang with them, I talk to them.
Right. So it's your family versus your brothers.
Yeah, so it's like, this is really annoying. It's like, what should I do? You know, like, if I shouldn't even vote. You know, like for me, I need to have like a silent
be impartial.
vote. Yeah, I'm just standing there, but both of them are gonna be like, hey, you're not like cheering for your countrymen. I'm like, well,
cheering for every kill.
Yeah, every
single kill we're cheering.
We're gonna walk past them coming off the desk. You just gotta, But one guy we haven't really mentioned from Mibr is KNG. Obviously, one of the newest guys to be added to the lineup. What are you kind of expecting from him, Londus?
I mean, KNG's insane, right? Like he's just so nuts. Like he is like the truth. You know, we've seen him get into a major final, his first major. Like he is the truth. And then when he joined the lineup though, he's taking kind of a backseat. You know, he's like, I think it's like 1.05, something like that in the last few months. But I feel like he's trying his best to be an adept role player as well as like be a superstar in the moments that he's like totally free, like in a clutch round or something like that. Dropping the op, I mean, that is definitely something that's gonna tank your stats a bit if you were